As you have in every agency, you have scum.
On the radar, never a dull moment. The Southern Poverty Law Center was put on the world scene for all to see their corruption. More indictments are here. The Dem Party is starting to head into the trash can. Rhinos are losing. Podcasters use Trump to grow and then are now turning against him. Well, they're they're not too happy. What a great ride, folks. Man, we're definitely in the middle of a storm. 511,000 followers on Rumble. That's our go-to for free speech. Thank you for following us there and hitting that like button. It helps us grow and get on the top of the leaderboard. You guys know that we have amazing products on our site, amweknow.com. We received some of your photos. We're asking for more. I'll show you some more of that later on as Patriots have been sending photos wearing the gear.
Today, we are announcing an indictment charging Raul Castro and several others with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals.
Standing ovation. It's pretty amazing. Folks are excited. Oh, we're just loving this.
Mr. Castro and the others are charged with additional crimes as well, including destruction of aircraft and 4 individual counts of murder. The indictment was returned by a grand jury sitting in this district in Miami on April 23rd, 2026, and was unsealed today. For nearly 30 years, the families of 4 murdered Americans have waited for justice. On February, this is a story all too familiar. On February 24th, 1996, 2 civilian aircraft operated by Brothers to the Rescue were shot down over international waters by military aircraft from Cuba. 4 men were killed: Carlos Costa, Armando Alejandro Jr., Mario de la Peña, and Pablo Morales. They were unarmed civilians and were flying humanitarian missions for the rescue and protection of people fleeing oppression across the Florida Straits. As alleged in the indictment, Raul Castro and 5 co-defendants participated in a conspiracy that ended with Cuban military aircraft firing missiles at those civilian planes and killing 4 Americans. Those are the allegations returned by a federal grand jury. My message today is clear. The United States and President Trump does not and will not forget its citizens.
Pretty amazing. You know, big developments. The United States has deployed the powerful USS NIMITZ carrier strike group to the Caribbean amid rising tensions with Cuba. Southcom announced the move on Cuba's own Independence Day, a clear message after Venezuela. The pressure is building. President Trump isn't playing games with communist regimes in America's backyard. Department of War even posted a picture type of meme. American warfighters keep our homeland safe, the most lethal fighting force in the world. And it's showing him in military uniform touching a drone on the ground. Let's continue with this.
And quick follow-up. What are the prospects that you could get Raul Castro to the United States to face justice, given the situation there? And what steps are the U.S. willing to take to get him back here?
Well, we indict men outside of this country all the time. And there's all kinds of different ways that we get them here. The reason why we indict somebody is because we want them here to face justice in front of a jury of their peers. So how we go about doing that obviously depends on the circumstances in the case, and I'm not going to go beyond that, but we expect, we didn't indict, this isn't a show indictment. This is an indictment because we expect that there was a warrant issued for his arrest. So we expect that he will show up here by his own will or by another way and go to prison. Next question.
And so Todd Blanche said that there's a reason we're here, not in Washington, D.C., it was in Florida, to announce this indictment. The community here understands the history of the Cuban regime better than anyone in America. President Trump was asked about this also.
Well, we have a lot of people there. We have the CIA there. We have Marco is there. Marco's parents, as you know, were from Cuba. So we have a lot of expertise in Cuba. And it's not going to be like the biggest thing we've ever done, but I will tell you, to a lot of people, it's going to be one of the most important. They've been looking for this moment for 65 years. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to, in the meantime, we're going to have to help them out. They have no way of living. They have no food. They have no electricity. They have no energy at all. But they do have great people. There are a lot of great people. I mean, I have so many Cuban friends in Miami, mostly in Miami and Florida, and they're unbelievable people. They're unbelievable entrepreneurs, and they'd like to go back. I think hopefully they're going to want to live here, but they want to go back. Maybe they'll invest. We'll see what happens. But we're freeing up Cuba.
Freeing up Cuba. Somebody was approached, a Cuban man, overwhelmed with joy after the DOJ indicted Raul Castro. This is going to touch you really, really deep here.
Very popular historic restaurant where, as the news spread, people are reacting. And I do want to bring in Oscar Fernandez here with me. Nice. He left Cuba in 1961 when you were just 15 years old.
That is correct.
Tell me about what today means in the news of the indictment of Raul Castro.
It means some justice for the Cuban people. For 67 years, I'm sorry, we have been ignored by everybody, the United Nations, the Organization of American States, the European Union, everybody. So we hope this is the beginning of the downfall of the Castro regime. I'm sorry, a little emotional. And we're ready to go back and help in the reconstruction of our country. With work, with money, with investment, and with love. That has been lacking in Cuba for the last 6 decades.
Oscar, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I know you're getting emotional because this is a huge day for the Cuban community.
It is.
You and yourself, multi-generations. What are you hoping happens next?
Well, this should be the beginning of the downfall. This should be the beginning of a liberation of Cuba with the help of the United States. See, I can no longer fight, but the U.S. is being a second home to us, truth be told. I got kids and grandkids born here in Florida and in New York. And we're ready to do our part. This administration is the only administration I'm sorry, that is trying to open the door for us. And we are not going to let this opportunity go by.
Oscar, thank you so much for sharing that beautiful moment with us here live on television.
Ooh, very emotional. Can imagine what these folks have been through for so long. So many years waiting for this. You know, it's probably why the Democratic Party continues to fall apart. They had Open Source Zone put out that they only have a 20% approval rate, down 52. Their disapproval rate is up to 72%. That's a Quinnipiac poll, May 14th through the 18th. Reminds us of the Q board where it says all assets deployed when by any means necessary. It's the D party death spiral. And that spiral happens even in a place called Florida. U.S. Representative Sheila Shafrillius McCormick, Democrat, Florida, has resigned. Remember, Justice Cummins reminds us to track the resignations. The White House also put out, no panicins. It's a bad day to be a panicking. Got a lot more coming up in a moment. Stick around. Well, every time a missile goes off or a bomb explodes, microplastic particles are released into the upper atmosphere and spread throughout the earth, making their way into the air we breathe and the food we eat. Because they're so small, they get absorbed into the bloodstream and our organs, where they build up over time, triggering inflammation and increasing the risk of heart disease, cancer, and even Alzheimer's. But there's something incredible. New research now showing that certain probiotics found only in kimchi can bind these microplastics and help remove them from the body. The results showed that people taking the kimchi-derived probiotic were clearing out nearly twice as many microplastics. And it doesn't stop there. Another study found that a specific strain in kimchi, Bacillus pumilus, can break down BPA, one of the most toxic chemicals in plastic. What that means is your body actually has the ability to get rid of toxins, but only when your gut is balanced and functioning the way it's supposed to. But here's the challenge. Most people aren't eating kimchi consistently enough to get these benefits. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One with over 900 plus strains of beneficial bacteria that deliver all the benefits of real kimchi in convenient capsules, no taste, no smell, non-GMO, and 100% made in the USA. Today, you can try Kimchi One by clicking the link below for 25% off your entire order, or for the best deal available, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off plus free shipping. Call now, 888-317-9941. That's 888-317-9941.
That there's still people in your DOJ and FBI that are waiting you out. They're waiting until your administration is over to get back to work. Do you think those people are still in the DOJ and FBI?
I hope not. Well, we're going to seek them out. We'll seek them out. We'll get rid of them. Okay? Because you have in every agency, you have scum. And certainly they did in the FBI and DOJ. But Todd Blanche is doing a fantastic job. Cash is doing a very good job. So we will prevail.
They're going to seek them out. Get rid of them, the deep state in every agency. You have scum at the FBI and DOJ. Scum. Dan Scavino Jr. posted this yesterday. Do not mistake my sincere kindness and willingness to do solid for the President of the United States, while always being an open and honest broker with everyone on everything, as a sign of weakness. I've been doing this for 30 plus years with him. I assure you, he knows who has his back. 24/7, 365. You know, 24/7, 365 happened to be on the Q board. That's right. 1046, the drop, posting 1045. We don't inform our enemies of the specifics. We instead instill fear in them to make unplanned and disastrous counter moves. Epicenter. Full house. They are all here 24/7, 365. Enjoy the show. Now, he also posted this at 9:11 with 55 seconds. Well, on the Q board, there's a 9:11 55-second post. It says, go with God. The clock is activated. FBI Director Kash Patel says this afternoon, a former this was yesterday, assistant U.S. attorney who supported Jack Smith's politicized investigation of President Trump has been charged with stealing the confidential investigation documents. Carmen Lineberger allegedly emailed the confidential material to her own personal email, disguising them as dessert recipes to conceal them from record searches. Lineberger is charged with 4 felony counts in the indictment. This FBI will not hesitate to bring into account those who violated the trust of the American public in an investigation that should have never been brought to begin with. Wicked Outlaw said, "Hey there, Carmen. I'm guessing that your chocolate cake recipe email scheme doesn't seem like such a great idea in hindsight. The good news for us is that you are now free to try and save your butt by formally proffering up anything and everything you can to the DOJ about Jack Smith and his attempted coup against the president, and therefore the United States itself, which I will assume is already happening. Good luck. You're going to need it." Representative Jim Jordan reminded us there's been Medicaid fraud, daycare fraud, fire aid fraud, Act Blue fraud, SPLC fraud. Now we can add student aid to the list of fraud the Democrats enabled too. President Trump is putting a stop to it.
I'm really proud of one of the things that we've done, and that is we've just really totally revamped the FAFSA program, which is the applications that students fill out, for student aid as they're going to college. But as like many things in the government, we found that there was a lot of fraud going on, that there were bots that were applying for these loans. There were ghost students. There were dead people who were getting these loans, et cetera. And so we really did enforce and tweak this entire system so that we have this real-time fraud identity now. And it's as simple as showing an ID, online to show who you are when you're applying for these loans. And last year we kept $1 billion of fraud money from going out. And just in the first, 2 weeks of revamping this program this year, we've saved, about $60 million. So it's very effective. And I'm very pleased that we are going to be able to save taxpayers, billions of dollars with this identity program.
Yeah, more fraud caught by all. And of course, we had Nick Shirley, young guy, doing great work on Fox, telling us about Somalia.
About where all this fraud taking place. It's literally not even a 10-mile radius where most of this fraud took place. It's within like a 2-mile radius. And this is all around where her congressional district. And so for her to say that she didn't know about this fraud is such a lie. And she's obviously trying to cover her face. I mean, look at her net worth. It just went down by $29 million.
Yeah. And we know that she had a relationship with many of the individuals involved in this, had campaign rallies at various restaurants connected to this and so forth. Nick, I wanted to ask you about this.
Yeah. More and more, we're starting to understand as they bring these young guys in to do this work of exposing the evil that has been playing out across our nation. Our hope is more would step up to the plate. These folks like Miss Plaskett, when they get exposed and all the Democrat Party starts falling apart, what do they resort to? Well, Miss Watson Coleman. Bonnie Coleman said this.
Because if we wanted to eliminate abuse and fraud, we'd eliminate the president of the United States from the office right now and the rest of the sycophants in his administration that are allowing him to do so many illegal things.
Illegal things. Like what? They've been trying to get him for 10 years on the illegal things, yet they're the ones that are committing crimes, stealing money, getting elected fraudulently. And they can't handle the fact that finally somebody stepped up to the plate and is catching them in all their corruption. The Southern Poverty Law Center met their match. I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Dr. Swain's one of them in a moment. First, I wanted to start with this explanation here from Mr. Hunt.
Let's take a moment to revisit what actual Jim Crow was. Jim Crow was a time when Black Americans could not sit in classrooms with white Americans. It was colored-only water fountains. It was beatings in the streets. It was lynchings. It was fear. It was public humiliation. My own father, who grew up in a segregated South in New Orleans, had to walk around to the back of a restaurant just to order a sandwich in the French quarters of New Orleans because of the color of his skin. That was Jim Crow. And that is precisely why it is so offensive to compare that era of legalized discrimination and racial terror to showing a photo ID in a voting booth. And it's just as offensive when groups and organizations like these manufacture faux hate and racial tension. Requiring identification to vote is not oppression. It is not segregation. It is not racism.
Way to go, Mr. Hunt. You did a great job. Here's Dr. Swain. This is amazing. Every single thing that she says.
Chairman, ranking member, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today on this very important subject. I am Dr. Carol M. Swain, a former tenured professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt, and I was also tenured at Princeton. I am a woman who rose from rural poverty in Southwest Virginia, earned 5 degrees, and built a career as a scholar of race, politics, and representation. My 1993 book, Black Faces, Black Interests, won 3 national awards and was cited by the U.S. Supreme Court. Yet, starting in 2009, I became the target of a sustained smear campaign by the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization once respected for fighting real hate, but which I believe has become a weapon against conservatives, Christians, and dissenting voices. In September 2009, I found myself in the SPLC's crosshairs after I published an article in the Huffington Post titled "Mission Creep and the Southern Poverty Law Center's Misguided Focus." I argued that the SPLC had drifted from its original mission of monitoring genuine hate groups, such as the KKK and the neo-Nazis, towards targeting mainstream conservatives, immigration reformers, and anyone challenging progressive ideas on race and immigration. I specifically criticized the SPLC's attacks on figures like Lou Dobbs and organizations like the Center for Immigration Studies. I concluded my article with the line, "Rather than monitoring hate groups, the Southern Poverty Law Center has become one." Within weeks of my article, the Southern Poverty Law Center retaliated. In October 2009, SPLC spokesman Mark Potok publicly labeled me as an apologist for white supremacists. This stemmed from my endorsement of a documentary film, A Conversation About Race, directed by Craig Bodecker, which I recommended for classroom use because it offered perspectives rarely heard on university campuses. This attack on me was not an isolated incident. The Southern Poverty Law Center has used guilt by association, cherry-picked quotes, and fabrications to damage and destroy reputations and organizations. There was long-term professional harm to me. Offers from other universities dried up. Speaking opportunities declined. I became kryptonite in certain academic and media circles. My experiences with the Southern Poverty Law Center exposed a powerful, tax-exempt organization with enormous influence over media, corporations, law enforcement, and government that can chill speech and academic freedom without any meaningful accountability. The Southern Poverty Law Center's tactics, the mission creep because it's lost sight of its original purpose, guilt by association, weaponized hate labels have broader consequences. They distort public discourse and equate policy disagreements with bigotry. They influence tech companies, public and private schools, and federal agencies in ways that marginalize conservative and religious voices. Their smear tactics undermine individuals and organizations that are fighting for the public good. I urge this committee to examine the Southern Poverty Law Center's practices, its financial operations, its influence on government partnerships, and the lack of transparency and accountability surrounding its hate group designation. Real civil rights work, real civil rights work, real civil rights work requires truth-telling, not retaliation against scholars who challenge orthodoxies, and certainly not the alleged financing of the hate the organization claims to fight. I hope Congress will deal with the Southern Poverty Law Center appropriately. Both political parties need to address this. This is a bipartisan issue. They should use all available means to hold this organization accountable, as you do, or as you proclaim to do with other organizations. Let's hold everyone to the same standard. Thank you for your time, and I will be ready to answer questions at the appropriate time.
Oh, man, do we have some more information on this whole system? They're going to get exposed more than anything, and I just enjoyed this quite a bit. Wanted to share this first before we go into that. Republicans sweep and win both Supreme Court elections in Georgia. Charlie Bethel, 51% over Miracle Rankin, and Sarah Hawkins Warren, 59% over Jen Jordan, 40%. That is pretty amazing. Also, the South Carolina House just passed a MAGA red map redistrict eliminating Democrat Jim Clyburn's seat. The wins just keep coming. We voted for this. We got more in the SPLC and comms, big comms with the emergency broadcasting system coming up. You're tired of tap water loaded with toxins? Like, if you're starting a New Year's health journey, toxin-free water can help with weight loss and overall health as well. We interviewed Nelson last month. See the full interview in the link below to learn more.
We are the inheritors of the most incredible civilization that has ever existed, and our task is to defend it.
So those listening, the emergency broadcasting system is played. This is Homeland Security.
You have no choice but to get involved.
ICE, Americans are the inheritors of the most incredible civilization that has ever existed. Our job is to defend it. And they're showing these illegals as they're taken in one at a time. And they're taken away. And then we're just getting started. Probably have about, 18 to 20 million left to go. Be a long, long road for all. But if you're looking at the beginning of this, look at that, folks. That's that emergency broadcasting system. Keeps playing out for us over and over again. I tell you what, pretty incredible what we're seeing. And I wanted to show you this too out of China.
President Xi meeting with Putin this week.
Well, he told me he was going to. I think it's good. I get along with both of them. But I think it's good. I don't know if the ceremony was quite as brilliant as mine. I watched. I think we topped them. Good team. But no, I get along with Putin. I get along with everybody but your husband and a few others.
On the Iran deal, would you be...
Get along with everybody except your husband. A few others. Oh, what if Russia and China were working together with the USA to take down the deep state? Deep state, we're learning more and more. The Rothschilds, the Soroses, the London. Oh, boy. Just keeps playing out in a marvelous way. Melissa Redpill shared this video clip. I didn't even know about this. Listen to this, folks.
Come on, when's the first one coming? They said in 28. I said, I'm going to be here in 28. Maybe I'll be here in 32, too. I don't know.
What? He dropped this line at the Coast Guard Academy graduation.
Maybe I will. But I'm going to be here in 28.
And they're all cheering.
Tell you. I said, that's great because I'm going to be there at the dedication. They have been trying to get icebreakers for years and years, and no president was able to provide them with.
2032, he's talking about the graduation. He couldn't be talking about running for office again, could he? Oh, who knows? Well, let's get into the SPLC. I wanted to show you a lot more that's going on with this. Let me follow there. Here you go.
But now we're finding out that the SPLC is not only engaged in this kind of behavior, but we have schools across the country that have included SPLC information in their curriculum. Ooh. Dr. Swain, what are the concerns that you have in that regard?
I have concerns that the SPLC's program Teaching Tolerance is really intolerant, and many of the public and private schools use their materials, and because they have so many resources, they are able to get into the schools in a way that I think is very dangerous, because they're all about indoctrination, a very progressive agenda, and so that is my concern.
Okay, I appreciate that. I believe that this program, that it's the Learning for Justice is the community education program that I am referring to. Mr. O'Neill, do you have concerns about that program as well?
Yes, so it's very telling in my mind that the program that was long known as Teaching Tolerance, apparently the SPLC has become too woke for tolerance, so they changed the name to Nix the Tolerance and just go with Learning for Justice.
Can you believe it? Oh, they can't handle the tolerance anymore. You know, they don't want to tolerate anything. It's just Learning for Justice. We're just going to go after people. Then Gunnar Eggman says this, the squad strikes again. Here's Pramila Jayapal, one of the most incompetent Democrats in Congress, decided to be yourself.
Campaigns and these administrations on stoking fear and racism against communities of color and
racism,
promoting hate and
fear, hate,
enacted Muslim bans, kidnapped and disappeared immigrants of all immigration statuses, including U.S. citizens, forced universities to roll back their diversity, equity, inclusion efforts.
Good.
Stripped voting rights from black and brown voters.
No, they didn't.
Disenfranchising women and rural voters with the SAVE Act that he wants to pass.
Nope, that's not true.
It's all a shameless plan to return America to single-party control by a Republican Party who, unable to win on any sort of policy merits, turns to an old racist playbook that restricts the power of black, brown, and working-class voters and goes after any political foes just to hold on to power.
Let's see, who's the ones that have they have their agenda? Oh, policies. Their policies are done. What policies do you guys have? Nothing. All you have is Trump derangement syndrome. Attack, cheat in the elections, get put into power when you shouldn't be there. And folks are finally, little by little, waking up to this whole thing. Jim Jordan outlined the case against the Southern Poverty Law Center following the federal indictment charging the group with fraud and money laundering.
Field Source 37. Again, he was the first one I mentioned. He was part of the planning group for the Charlottesville rally. He was paid to coordinate transportation. He was paid to attend. After the event where a young lady is killed, the Southern Poverty Law Center almost tripled their income. It all worked. They went from $51 million annual income to $133 million. Turned out for them, creating hate was more profitable than fighting it. That's exactly what they did. They ran a scam, they became the standard, they didn't get prosecuted, and they made a ton of money. They're sitting on $800 million in assets, $700 million endowment fund. Such a deal. But here's the good news, because there is some good news. Here's the good news. President Trump got elected. Todd Blanche is Attorney General. Kash Patel is FBI Director. And guess what? They're prosecuting these guys.
Oh, boy. I just love it. You know, sometimes we say the things that they say, they'll never come to fruition. It's just all talk. But I think the times have changed just a little bit. I mean, Todd Blanche doing the old, there's an indictment in Cuba. And then you see the other indictments playing out. You see FBI showing that these people aren't going to get by with rigging the elections anymore. Of course, there's going to be more rigged elections, according to President Trump. I'll show you that in a moment as we talk about Los Angeles. But I tell you what, these folks are in huge trouble. Do you guys want to see somebody from the Southern Poverty Law Center answer questions?
Is that appropriate to tell your donors, this is the extremist of the month, this hateful, racist guy is really bad, send us money, but not tell those donors who you're taking their money from that we're paying this guy $140,000. Is that appropriate?
Well, we have public reporting that over a dozen donors actually said that they spent the money as intended.
Field Source 42 got $140,000 from the Southern Poverty Law Center, was featured on their webpage as extremist of the year or month or whatever they call these bad guys. And they were paying him and they were getting money. Is that appropriate? Simple question.
And donors have supported it, and they keep trying to send
So
more
it is
money
appropriate.
to the Southern Poverty Law
No.
Center.
Is that technique appropriate? That's what I'm asking.
That is not unlawful to say that people have done
I didn't
X,
ask if
Y,
it was
or
lawful or
Z.
unlawful. As you said earlier in your testimony, the court's going to determine that when they go to when they go to trial. What I'm asking you, is it appropriate?
As I said, the donors have spoken.
Oh, they're caught. They're in huge trouble. They know it, and they're going to continue to play as if, oh, we're never going to get in trouble. Things are going to be fine. Don't worry. We got hundreds of millions of dollars. Just pay off as many lawyers as we can to make this thing come to fruition. Let's hear from Andy Biggs.
Ms. Wiley, the SPLC labeled a brilliant black conservative, the woman sitting to your left, Dr. Carol Swain, a, quote, apologist for white supremacists, close quote, simply for daring to disagree with them. Do you personally think Dr. Swain is a racist?
I don't know Dr. Swain.
What? How could you not know her? You guys labeled her a white supremacist, apologist for white supremacist.
I will say is what's important about the Southern Poverty Law Center's work is that it identify where and how we have problems.
I'm asking you, you're choosing not to answer. Okay, you don't know her. Have you read any of her writings?
I have not.
And, Ms. Wiley?
I have not. But we labeled her an apologist for white supremacists, but we don't know who she is. Oh, these folks are in so much trouble. All evil on display. I wanted to show you a little bit from Representative Hagman from the explaining how the SPLC will silence anyone who opposes them.
The 11-count indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center over wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering states that between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC covertly funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals who were associated with several violent extremist groups, including the KKK, the National Socialist Movement, and the National Socialist Party of America. Because the SPLC was instigating rather than infiltrating these hate groups, donor money was seemingly being used to create and prop up the very hate that SPLC claimed to be fighting against. More hate means more money for the SPLC, and this led to a transformation of this corrupt and divisive group moving towards a creator of hate within America. There is a fundamental difference between federal law enforcement using paid informants and a nonprofit organization lying to financial institutions to compensate people to foment hate, racism, and anti-Semitism. The SPLC's field sources were doing much more than gathering information. For example, the indictment notes that one field source, quote, made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC and helped coordinate transportation to the Charlottesville event for several attendees, end quote. Mr. O'Neill, do you believe that SPLC's conduct crossed the line from infiltrator to instigator?
Yes, based on the information in the indictment.
So in response to the indictment, we also found out that the SPLC was sharing information with law enforcement. I've got concerns about that because of how biased the SPLC obviously is, and the information that they were sharing with law enforcement was also biased. I think that you can tell that by the questioning, or at least the accusations that were just recently made, and even some of the articles that were identified by the woman from California. The articles themselves, even accusing the folks this week of committing the horrible act at the mosque out in San Diego. Their own writings defy and disagree with what she was alleging over there. Individuals on the right and left have long recognized that the SPLC is no longer the group that it was founded to be. Mr. O'Neill, shouldn't we be concerned that our government and law enforcement are accepting information from knowingly biased sources?
Yes, we should be concerned that they were receiving information specifically from a group that systematically demonizes concerned parents, conservative Christian groups, and even groups of LGBT people who oppose the sexualization of children.
So if the SPLC were instigating criminal action and then reporting such information to law enforcement, would that not raise even more legally dubious conflicts? Mr. Perkins.
It would. SPLC was it was like they were hiring an arsonist to create a fire
Then they were calling the fire department and ratting out the arsonist that they hired. And then they wanted to
someone else. We're accusing someone else of setting the fire.
Well, but they also wanted to get Citizen of the Year award by calling in and turning in the arsonist that they paid. It's a conspiracy that goes way beyond just money. This was about trying to demonize, silence, and completely eliminate any opposition to the left when it came to their agenda.
And that's what's played out, I think, today with the questioning in your testimony. But now we're finding out that the SPLC was not only engaged in this kind of behavior, but we have schools across the country that have included.
We heard about that, about the schools. And so, again, Southern Poverty Law Center, I hope that this all plays out and we continue to see more indictments and this whole system, their shenanigans and more, that they see arrests and these folks are finally exposed for the world to see. Now, I've got some big comms from President Trump and amazing information from Observing Consciousness on the future playing out. And, of course, we're going to get into Los Angeles once again with President Trump's comments. But first, I wanted to show you, we've got amazing gear at shop.andweknow.com, where you can go to andweknow.com, folks, and you can hit that shop button, get the women's 3/4 sleeve V-necks. They're finally here. And when you do head to our website, we hope that you guys will take a chance to hit that contact button. When you hit contact, it'll take you over here to contact us. Put your name, your email, and send us a photo. We are running out of photos of folks wearing your gear. We'd love to hear from you and get those pictures. Here's more great pictures.
Highest point in the history of the stock market, and now we're blowing it away. We're blowing everything away, and we're going to end that war very quickly. They want to make a deal so badly. They're tired of this. This should have happened for 47 years. Somebody should have done something about it, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen fast, and you're going to see oil prices plummet. They're going to come down. There's so much oil out there. They're going to come plummeting down.
Plummeting down. Crypto Tice said breaking. Trump just said the Iran deal is close. Oil is about to plummet. Let's talk about what actually means. That actually means for your portfolio. Hormuz opens. Oil crashes below $90. Oil crashes. Inflation drops faster than any Fed model predicted. Inflation drops. Warsh has no choice but to cut rates. And this is the most bullish chain reaction in modern financial history, sitting behind one deal, one signature, one moment. And now Trump says oil is about to crash. Every single domino is lined up. The people who are positioned before this happens will never have to work again. People who wait for confirmation will spend the rest of their lives explaining why they missed it. Are you positioned? Because the deal is coming, and when it lands, everything moves at once. So Observing Consciousness jumped in. Trump's going to China, allowing Z space to preserve internal stability, save face, then suddenly signaling that Iran deal and lower oil at the exact moment global markets are starving for rate relief is not random sequencing. It is timing architecture. When Trump allows Hormuz to stabilize, yes, we are in control, and energy premiums collapse, inflation unwinds across shipping, manufacturing, food, and logistics faster than central banks projected, which forces the rate environment to shift, unlocks liquidity, accelerates AI and infrastructure expansion, resets the entire market mood. Almost overnight. The day after Massey goes down and GOP sweeps primaries, there are no coincidences. Watch how the market swings as elections 2026 heat up. The surface narrative looks geopolitical, but underneath it, the energy, currency, trade, elections, and capital flow layers all begin moving together in the same direction at once. President Trump posted this: who will win the presidential election? You got the lanterns there with the Kalshi post. Just that reminder that Kamala Harris was at 1%. President Trump was at 99%. Again, really have patriots telling us the election results for 2024 are also going to be revealed. We're going to find out just how badly Trump destroyed Kamala in 2024. The real results of 16, 20, 22, and 24 are all about to be revealed. The Space Force has it all. And, of course, the hidden camera bombshell, Democrat Joel Caldwell of the Coalition for the People's Agenda, a Fulton County ballot harvesting NGO chief, caught on tape admitting it all.
That was the big thing here, was the counting of the ballots at the dome. It was all counting the ballots.
So I'm going to kind of say what he says. It's hard to hear. They said they were all counting the ballots, and they were told that there was a leak on the opposite side of the dome. Everybody needed to evacuate. So then when they all left, the Democrats went back in and started counting, and the Republicans went back to the headquarters.
You know that for a fact?
He said, yep, that's what happened. So I'm just going to say a few more. There's about 9 minutes long, so I'm just going to summarize this for you. Democrats are still stuffing ballot drop boxes with fraudulent votes, and it's all caught on videotape. He also admits this is how they rigged the 2020 election and why Democrats fight to the death against voter ID. They pay people to illegally ballot harvest. They bribe ballot counters and election officials. They forge and falsify ballots. And the Atlanta mayor straight up stole the election. He says it's all himself on tape. He says basically, another one here, that's why the Republicans are always trying to fight the ballot. You know, that's the whole argument, because Republicans are the ones who put out that kind of stuff. So they want voter IDs and stuff. Democrats are fighting voter ID laws. It's a two-sided thing. That's what they're fighting over. Republicans are trying to say, hey, look, we got proof of this. And the Democrats are like, well, we don't want voter ID laws, and we want to make it where you can just drop your ballot off, online voting and different things they try to come up with. That's why we need to pass the Save America Act. Here's Nancy Pelosi basically admitting what they do.
We always have concerns, but with this president and these Republicans who have no commitment to the rule of law and doing things the appropriate way.
She's talking about the Democrats.
We're ready. We have three purposes now. One is to win the midterms. Two is to make sure the elections are safe. And three, to tell people what we will do when we win. And that is the mission. There's so many things that you can do to protect the election, and they are being done, whether it's litigation or legislation or just mobilization, communication, all of that. But in addition to that, we have to be on guard as to what they may try to do to the technology. They may try to creep into the technology and create a false count.
How do you guard against that?
That's a challenge.
Oh, so they can rig the machines. You know, President Trump was asked about the L.A. mayor race.
Spencer Pratt, do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality TV star?
No, I'd like to see him do well. He's a character. I don't know him. I assume he probably supports me. Does he support me?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. I heard he does. I heard he's a big MAGA person. He's doing well. I don't know. You have a rigged vote out there. That's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. It's very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest. If we had Jesus Christ come down and count the votes, I would have won California because I do great with Hispanics. But it's a rigged vote. They send out 38 million votes. Nobody knows where they're going. Of course, the Democrats do, I guess. But disproportionately, Democrats get many more votes. Some get 8 votes. They get 8 cards. And Republicans have to call in, where's my card?
Yep, so he's stating, it's like, yeah, but they're going to rig the election. He's telling you straight. It's like, yeah, he might be a great guy, but they're good at rigging. They're good at lying. He even had to throw in that if our Heavenly Father sent his son, Jesus Christ, down to count the ballots, it would prove that he actually won California. You know, they have it all. And that information is being guarded, and I'm sure at the right moment, it will all be exposed. I love that Tiffany blue tie that he's wearing, by the way. Holy smokes, in case you missed it, the House overwhelmingly passed a Trump-backed bill to stop companies like BlackRock from buying tons of single-family homes. Massive win for America. It's another thing that we voted for. And then here's another thing that President Trump was talking about.
You're going to see things that are amazing. You're going to see a lot of amazing things over the next 3 years for our country. And I'd like to talk more about the economic, because we have $18 trillion being spent, and no country's ever had anything like that. We have car plants pouring in from Mexico, Canada. They don't want to be there. There's no reason to be there because they want to sell to our market. We have car companies and plants coming in from Germany, from South Korea, from Japan, coming in by the billions. And they're being built now. You're going to see things that nobody thought was possible.
Mr. President,
DOJ.
You're going to end up saying he's the greatest president that ever lived. Goodbye, everybody.
James Comey over the weekend, Mr. President.
Yep. Great economic things coming. He says, wait till you see it, folks. The next 3 years is going to be playing out. And part of that, I believe, is gold and silver going through the roof. You guys know that we have Dr. Kirk Elliott on Saturdays for you to watch. And pretty amazing. I just want to mention again, you can reach out to him in case you haven't, to have your life changed right before your very eyes. It's been amazing to have him on board. So, of course, another one big win. House passes legislation to stop transgender indoctrination of our kids in schools nationwide, 217 to 198. I wanted to show you a couple of feel-good stories. I like this here. A man with a life sentence who was granted clemency by Trump in 2021.
3 years after enrolling in Dallas College, I graduated from SMU with a degree in economics and public policy.
That is not Chris Young's story. He'll tell you his life is a story of
resilience, resolve, and redemption.
Growing up in Clarksville, Tennessee with real poverty, without real parenting.
I didn't have a biological father. I've never met him, never even seen a picture of him. And my mother suffered from extreme crack cocaine addiction.
As a teenager, Chris began selling the same drugs that held his family hostage.
I didn't sell drugs because I thought it was cool. I sold drugs because I thought it was the thing I needed to do to escape poverty.
When he was arrested at age 22, it was his third time busted for drugs. Because of federal 3 strikes and you're out laws, Young knew his future was fixed.
I was sentenced to 2 life without parole sentences.
Federal Judge Kevin Sharp, bound by sentencing guidelines to send Chris Young away, was also bothered to put Chris away forever.
I didn't know that at the time, though. So I had to go in prison and start my prison bid just knowing that I had 2 life sentences and that I had to figure out a way to get out. And one day, I happened to get the news that Judge Sharp was resigning in protest of not only mandatory minimums, but specifically to help me get released.
That story began a chain of events that included news coverage.
Taylor Dovin, a journalist, chose to share the article with Brittany and asked Brittany, if possible, could she help me?
Dallas attorney Brittany K. Barnett, who has worked to secure new freedoms for more than 70 people.
To have former federal judge Kevin Sharp step down and link arms with me in this fight for Chris's life, literally, was beyond amazing.
The story got the attention as well of Kim Kardashian, who also lobbied for Chris Young. President Trump, on the last day of his first term, granted clemency to Chris Young.
How'd you feel?
Ecstatic, surreal, exhilarating. I was speechless.
That was 2021. From prison in Beaumont to enrollment at Dallas College and then on to SMU. Now graduating and with a memoir to be published in August, he hopes his life speaks volumes.
I will do well by doing good. Like Benjamin Franklin said, I started a consulting firm where we will help debunk the fallacy of scarcity. I believe if the world embraced the abundance mentality, we will progress further technologically and socially.
How about that, huh? Big moves happening. Great stories like this that touch our lives. Somebody that lived in D.C. for a couple of years went out to look at the updates that President Trump's been making.
I'm going to dox myself because I'm moving, but I've lived near Meridian Hill Park in D.C. for almost 2 years now, and the water's never been in the pond there. This has never happened before. I was always too afraid to come here because of the homeless people, but they're all gone, and it seriously looks like Paris. I mean, I've never seen this many people out here. I mean, look, everyone is enjoying it. Everybody. A year ago, Trump said he was going to clean out D.C., and he did. It is clean, it's calm, it's quiet, except for the Chipotle down in Navy Yard, apparently this weekend, but I wasn't there for that. The homeless are out. The birds are chirping. The water is in. The ponds. The fountains are working. Thank you, Mr. This is the benefit of having a construction man as your president.
Yeah, buddy. I should just love seeing updates like that. Another one that's just strange just came off the press. Wanted to share this with you. Gunnar Engelman. Absolute meltdown in Colorado. Democrats just censored their own governor, Jared Polis, for commuting Tina Peters' sentence and banned him from speaking or being honored at any party events. 90% of the Colorado Democratic Party voted to punish Polis for showing even a shred of basic humanity and justice. Tina Peters, the election integrity warrior they tried to destroy, is now free, and the radical left is having a full psychotic break. This is who they are. No dissent allowed, no mercy allowed, no deviation from the cult allowed. I also just wanted to add, we started with Cuba. I want to show you this from Enrique Alejandro. Well, President Donald Trump is indicting Cuban communist dictator Raul Castro. Barack Obama was attending baseball games with him in Havana. Oh, the timing, the timing. I also wanted to tell you that officials in Davidson County, Tennessee, broke into panic mode after learning illegal aliens will lose free taxpayer health care if and when they can't verify legal status. That thing Democrats say wasn't happening, it's happening. We have an inordinate amount of illegals leeching off the system. Purge the rolls. Quote, Metro's Board of Health for Nashville and Davidson County says they received a notice from the Tennessee Department of Health saying they would need to verify the citizenship status of everyone enrolled in a public benefit program. And folks, let's not forget, we were told in the beginning of this, we don't inform our enemies of the specifics. We instead instill fear in them to make unplanned and disastrous counter moves. You guys feel like they're making big, disastrous counter moves? Because I do. We're in the epicenter. Big storm, full house. They're all here 24/7, 365. Go with God. The clock is activated. Enjoy the show.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you again, thanking you for the bold moves made by so many that you've placed into our system throughout America and throughout this entire earth. We just want to honor you. Thank you for how you've continued to guide and direct our lives, continue to guide and direct nations to take out this enemy that has been making waves across so many lives and hurting so many people and children and more. You know this, you hear the cries of the people. We ask that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We thank you for the daily provisions you've given us. And we thank you for the protection of all those on the front lines, for protection of those that are standing against the Southern Poverty Law Center, those evil, demonic beings that work there, those that are continuing to leech off of this country, those that are looking forward to destroying us in the future if they get their power back, those that are planning to continue to steal elections and more. We ask that you continue to help the military stop them, move towards the future, that indictments will fly, and we'll finally see justice play out before our very eyes. While this is all playing out, please guide us and direct us to be able to bring the message of salvation to those that are hurting, to those that are confused, and that they would come to know your Son as their Savior. It's in his name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Thank you for so much love, support, prayers, and more. Thank you for hitting that like button in the below the video and so much more. You guys are absolutely amazing. We so appreciate you. For now, this is LT Semper Fi with Them We Know, signing out.